Clockmaker and the Iron Giant in the heart of Paris, tucked away on the Rue des Horloges, lived a quiet boy named Louis. He was the grandson of a famous clockmaker and had grown up surrounded by gears, chimes, and ticking hands. But while his grandfather loved the order of time, Louis loved the mystery of history. Each day on his way to school, Louis passed by the Eiffel Tower. Most Parisians barely looked at it anymore, but Louis always did. There was something about the massive iron latticework that made his imagination tick. One chilly afternoon, as Louis was winding a strange antique pocket watch in his grandfather's workshop, the second hand jerked, spun backward, and then stopped. A low hum filled the room. Before he could react, everything faded, and when he opened his eyes, he was standing on a construction platform, 270 meters in the air. Below him was 19th century Paris. Around him, men in overalls shouted in French and moved across beams of iron. A man with a thick mustache and rolled sleeves turned toward him. "You there? What are you doing up here?" he barked. I don't know," Louis stammered. "Where am I?" "You're at the top of my tower," the man said. "The Eiffel Tower. And I'm Gustave Eiffel." Louis's eyes widened. The Gustave Eiffel, Tower of the World, laughed at Eiffel. Didn't seem angry for long. He saw the strange watch in Louis's hand and raised an eyebrow. Perhaps you're meant to see what others couldn't." He gave Louis a tour of the unfinished tower, an iron maze held together by over 2.5 million rivets. Eiffel explained that when he first proposed the tower for the 1889 World's Fair, most of Paris was outraged. People called it an eyesore, a useless monstrosity, and even a skeleton of disgrace. They said it would ruin the beauty of Paris forever, Eiffel said, smiling. But now it is Paris. Louis was amazed. "How did you convince them?" Eiffel explained how he pitched the tower not just as art but as science. The Eiffel Tower would be the tallest man-made structure in the world, 300 meters. Overtaking even the Great Pyramid of Giza, it would prove France's industrial power and inspire engineers around the globe. And when the wind blows, Eiffel said, the tower sways just slightly, like a tree. That's how it survives storms. The giant that nearly disappeared as Louis looked down from the top deck, he saw no tourists, no flashing lights, just cranes and the muddy banks of the Seine River. The tower, he learned, was originally meant to stand for just 20 years. "Then why is it still here?" Louis asked. Eiffel winked. "Because I hid something in it, something too useful to tear down." He led Louis into a small room near the top. Inside were coils of wire, copper tubes, and blinking dials. An early radio lab. During its last year, we used the tower to send military radio signals. Later, we transmitted the first long-distance radio message from Paris to the world. That moment saved the Eiffel Tower from destruction. Thanks to Eiffel's foresight, the Iron Giant wasn't just a monument. It became a scientific tool, later used for weather experiments, radar during World War II, and eventually as a global broadcast antenna. The Eiffel Tower's hidden room. But Eiffel had one more secret. He took Louis to a hidden spiral staircase leading to the very top, higher than even tourists would one day go. There, behind a heavy door, was a small apartment. "Few know this," Eiffel said, "but I built it for myself, to think, to listen to the wind, to dream above Paris." The room was modest, a desk, a bookshelf, a telescope pointed toward the stars. Louis ran his fingers along the wall and found it engraving, "To the future, to the thinkers." "Let this tower be your lighthouse." And then the strange watch buzzed again. "Time is calling you back," Eiffel said gently. "But remember what you've seen." Louis blinked, and he was back in the workshop. The watch had stopped ticking, but something had changed. Today, the tower still stands. From that day on, Louis saw the Eiffel Tower not as a tourist trap, but as a living story of daring, of invention, of a man who dreamed higher than anyone had before. And as he grew older, he followed in his grandfather's footsteps, but not as a clockmaker. As a historian, he gave lectures to students and travelers, telling them not just that the tower had 665 steps, or that it was repainted every 7 years with 60 tons of paint, but that inside it, once, stood a boy in a dream in a world that believed in the impossible.